I've always liked the Dacia Duster. It's no nonsense, useful and cheap. But this is the all-new third generation, and it looks a little bit more posh to me, like it's got a bit too much swagger. So we've got to figure out whether this is still a working class hero or whether it's got a little bit pretentious. Time for a bit of a poke around, I think.
So let's start with the outside. New Duster is based on a platform called CMF-B, which translates as the Common Module Family for smaller cars. That's a Renault and Nissan thing, Renault being Dacia's parent, and underpins stuff like the Clio, as well as the Dacia Sandero and the Jogger. It'll also form the basis of electric stuff like the new Renault 5, so it's bang up to date.
And I think it looks really quite good. Now, a Duster has never been pretty, but it's always been quite purposeful, and I think this car takes it to the next level. So you've got a blocky rear end with these kind of Y-shaped lights. You've got the door handle that's come up from the door into the C-pillar section, so the window line is nice and unbroken. You've got chunky bits of plastic all around the car that make it look quite bulky and aggressive, and then you've got like a bluff grille with the new badge in the middle. It's a very confident car, and that's a good thing. This is a little bit personal, by the way, because I'm a big fan of the Duster, and my last one ended up looking quite different. Anyway, back to this car. It's got this kind of belt line of tough black plastic that goes all the way around the car. So it starts at the front bumper, goes into the front wheel arches, along the side sills, over the back wheel arches, and then around the back bumper. It's actually a material called Starkle, which is 20% recycled, and it's been cooked up by some clever people at Dacia and some very special chemists. It's kind of got a mottled finish, which Dacia thought looked quite cool, so they left it unpainted. Now, it's worth noting that both the front and back bash plates are what's called dyed in the mass, so they're the same colour all the way through. You'll still get scratches and marks, but they won't show up because it's the same colour. There does seem to be a little bit of a Y theme going on. You can see it in the headlights and in these alloy wheels, although these are notably polished, not chromed, because chroming isn't particularly environmentally friendly. You can also see it in the rear lights. But generally, I think the new Duster looks quite confident and quite robust, and all of the things that Dacia was talking about. It's very grown up, and I think it looks great. Okay, so there are 3 drivetrain options in the new Duster, as well as 2 and 4-wheel drive options, and it starts off with the hybrid 140. Now that's a 1.6 litre engine with about 94 brake horsepower, which gets a couple of electric motors. One is a 49 horsepower proper drivetrain motor, and the other one is just like a big starter generator. It's only got a 1.2 kilowatt hour battery, so not much electric range, but it is very efficient if driven sympathetically.
Then there's the TCE 130 mild hybrid, which gets a 3-cylinder, 1.2 litre turbocharged motor with a 48-volt electric bit bolted to it to support. It's only got a 0.9 kilowatt-hour battery, so no electric range, but the electric bit helps the combustion motor when starting and accelerating, so it's a bit more responsive and 10% more efficient. And that one comes with a 6-speed manual in either front or 4x4 versions. Lastly, there's the Duster TCE 100 Bifuel, and that does what it says on the tin. It's a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo that can run on either one of its 2 50-litre tanks of either LPG or petrol. You can only have it as the front-wheel drive, the LPG tank is under the boot floor, but it gives you 10% less CO2 than straight petrol and a possible 1,300 kilometres, that's over 800 miles of range. But no matter what engine you pick, all of these Dusters get the benefit of this new interior, and it is really quite different. Completely different dashboard, completely different setup, completely different materials, and it feels like a proper upgrade. This feels quite stylish, which is not something you could say about other Dusters. There will be 4 different trims available, and they're Essential, which is the base, and Expression, which comes with nicer wheels and more infotainment and all that good stuff. Then there will be Extreme and Journey, which will be the same price, but Extreme gets more outdoorsy outlook with rubber floor mats and washable upholstery, while Journey gets 18-inch wheels and a bit more luxury. Me, I'm more of an Extreme kind of guy. But seeing as most Dusters aren't used like that, I reckon Journey is also a decent option. But once you're in here, you'll notice several things straight away. First of all, it's got that Y theme going on in the air vents, so it does look
like the outside, it's all related, feels quite nice. Then there's this 10.1-inch touchscreen, which is slightly tilted towards the driver, which is always nice. And then directly in front of me is a 7-inch driver's display, which is configurable, so you can have it representing whatever information is most important to you. Again, there's the Y theme on the door cards. You keep noticing them. It's quite interesting. More expensive versions get things like a better stereo, wireless charging and the like. But if you get the base version, you get a phone cradle here and a free app which lets you control various functions in the car, which is actually quite neat. You get USB ports in the front and in the back, so there's 4 different ones. There's a 12 volt there. You also get really nice fabric on these seats. It's kind of like a wetsuit material, like a neoprene, like you could hose it down, which is quite nice. Everything feels really quite quality. There's a couple of bits of slightly harder plastics, but that just feels tough. It doesn't feel cheap, which is actually quite nice. And all models get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is actually quite useful. 4x4 versions get terrain controls with various modes, plus hill descent and this all-road info system, which tells you how much you're tilting and pitching. It's basically a baby Land Rover. It also comes with all the usual advanced driver assistance systems, stuff you just don't expect on a value-driven car like the Duster. So you get automatic emergency braking, traffic sign recognition and speeding alert, rear parking assist, emergency stop signal, lane departure warning, over-the-air updates, lane keep assist, driver attention alert and emergency calls, as well as all the usual airbags, cruise control and the like. But Dacia has realised that all of those safety systems possibly don't work properly in the real world all of the time. So they've set up a programmable button called My Safety, where you can put in exactly which ones you want to work and you can switch them on and off at the press of a single button. Now that is useful. One thing I really do like is a thing called U-clip, which is basically a set of fixture points all around the car where you can get different sort of add-ons. So this is the mobile phone holder, which you can take off the dash there and then pop on to, say, down by the passenger. But you can also get a tablet holder, and there's a 3-in-1 cup holder hook. You can basically stick them on all around the car and do different things. It's a simple but effective little option. Interestingly, roughly 20% of all the plastic in the new Duster is recycled. So the exterior plastics we saw earlier, even the floor mats. There's no chrome or leather, even the user manual uses less paper. The full version is now online. So there's been a thorough look at small environmental wins throughout the car. That's good. But the one thing you're aware of is the fact the Duster really does feel bigger inside. There's more room up front and in the rear seats, and the boot is also bigger. That's 427 litres under the load cover if you've got the 2-wheel drive version, a bit less if you opt for 4x4. So this thing is genuinely practical. It's also got a couple of really cool little options. It's got a roof rack which drops onto the standard roof bars without fuss and can hold up to 80 kilograms. And you can also buy what's called the Sleep Pack. Now this we've seen on the Jogger already, but it's basically a removable box which slides into the back of the Duster, and then you can fold it out into a double bed, a table and some storage. Now that's really useful for those weekend camping trips, as long as you've got a garage to store it in when you're not using it. So it does feel like the Duster's grown up quite a lot. This doesn't feel like a budget car anymore. But Dacia insists that this will still offer supreme value for money and be one of the most affordable cars in the segment. So I'm guessing just under £18,000 for the base essential trim. If Dacia can keep the costs down and offer all of this stuff, then it's going to remain at the top of the Top Gear list. It's pretty good.